Hey there! Welcome to quick tip number 47. This is a heavily theoretical video. I want to establish a nice ground for further exploration. In this video, I want to derive the 5 families of diatonic triads in the major scale. Wow, that's a mouthful. What is a family of triads? It's a set of 3 notes that are related by transposition and inversion. So what do I mean by transposition? Well, let's take a classic triad, like the C major triad in the key of C. It's a C, E, and G. It's built in thirds. C, go up a third to E. E, go up a third to G. Good, now let's take another classic triad, say the F major triad, still in the key of C. F going up a third, A going up a third to C. They are the same family of triads because they're related by transposition. The F major triad is just a C major triad transposed up a fourth. Cool. Now, notes related by inversion. Well, C major triad. It's got the notes C, E, and G. Now, if I played the notes in a different order, say for example an E, G, and C, I could invert those notes, switch the order, and we'd end up back with a C, E, G, even if they were in different octaves. Those two shapes, C, E, G, and E, G, C, are related by inversion. For 2 triads to be in the same family, you could say that those triads could be related to each other in transposition and inversion. So now I want to derive all the possible families. Now you might say, we deal with triads all the time. But we really only deal with the classic triad, triads built in thirds. There's actually 4 other families that aren't the triads built exclusively in thirds. So what do? I zoom out and use a little bit of permutation math. The major scale has 7 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We start with the note 1, then we add the note 2, and we're going to see all the 3-note combinations that have the notes 1 and 2. In the case of C major, C and D in them. So we have 1, 2, 3. Boom. C, D, E. 1, 2, 3. First family of triads. It's a cluster family. C, D, E. When played together, it sounds like a cluster. Much easier to play on the piano. Family 1. Clusters. They're built in seconds. C, go up a second to D. D, go up a second to E. Now we see, what are the other triads with the notes 1 and 2 in them? Well, we can just go systematically. 1, 2, 4, C, D, and F. New family. Interesting. Now you could say this is a family of a triad built in a second and then a third. That might be the first logical way. But I'm going to rearrange the notes, invert them, into maybe what's a more familiar format to me. If you rearrange those notes into D, F, and then C, 2, 4, and 1, you notice it's a D minor 7 chord without the 5th. There's our new family. 7th chords without a 5th. Alright, let's keep going. Another triad with the 1, 2 combination contained. 1, 2, 5. Again, new family. We could describe it as triads built in seconds and then fourths, but I rearranged the notes into a more familiar form. 2, 5, and 1. A D, a G, and a C note. Ah, that's a quartal triad. A triad built in fourths. D, go up a fourth to G. G, go up a fourth to C. Quartal triads, another family. Excellent. We've already got 3 families. 1, 2, 6. Another set of 3 notes that contain the notes 1 and 2. 1, 2, 6. A C, a D, and an A. Okay, it is a new family. It could be described as a second and a 5th, but again, let's describe this in a more accessible way. Well, the notes D, then A, then C are 3/4 of a D minor 7 chord without the 3rd. Boom. There's our 4th family. A 7th chord without the 3rd. Now notice, I'm not saying a minor seventh chord without the third because we're talking about these families as being related by transposition. So for example, if I see a C, a G, and a B, that's 3/4 of a C major seventh chord without the third, but I still consider that the same family as D, A, and C because the general diatonic intervallic makeup of it is the same. They're related by transposition and inversion. Finally, the last triad we have possible that contains the notes 1, 2. 1, 2, 7, C, D, and B. This time it's not a new family. If you invert those notes, B, C, D, you notice we have our first overlap. That is part of the cluster family. It's a B cluster chord in the key of C. B, go up a second, C, go up a second, B, C, D. Okay, so now you see our system. I would suggest, if this interests you, from a theoretical point of view, you could sit down, maybe while you're at the laundromat, waiting at the DMV, waiting on the phone for Medi-Cal to pick up, whatever it takes. Try and see if you can find all the permutations of the notes that don't overlap, all the families. Let's do a little bit more together though. How about all the triads that have the notes 1 and 3? Okay, so we'd have 1, 3, 2, but that's the same as 1, 2, 3. So boom, that's not going to be a new family. 1, 3, 4. Is that a new thing? No. If we invert those notes, 4, 1, 3, F, C, E, we notice that's 3/4 of a F major 7 chord without the third. That's part of our sevenths without the third family of triads. Cool. Okay, next, 1, 3, 5. Boom, our classic triad that we've seen so much in the past. That's our final family. Just a classic triad built in thirds. 1, 3, 5. Let's keep going a little bit more. How about 1, 3, 6? That's just a classic triad inverted. That's our 6 chord first inversion. 6, 1, 3, A, C, E is our root position minor chord. If we express it as 1, 3, 6, it's just a first inversion A minor chord. 1, 3, 7, seventh chord with no fifth family. All right. Now, you go ahead, find all the triad combinations with 1 and 4. Find all the triad combinations with 1 and 5. See if you can find any other families. I didn't. These are the 5 families of triads. So we've got our cluster triads built in seconds. We've got seventh chords with no fifths. We've got seventh chords with no thirds. We've got quartal chords, a triad built in fourths. And lastly, we have the classic triad. Cool. Any 3 notes that you pick out of the 7 notes will be able to fall into this category as long as you invert it and transpose it. Take, for example, the notes 3, 7, 2. Okay? That maybe looks like a different family. In the key of C major, that'd be an E, B, and a D. But if we look at it more closely, E, B, and D, why, that's just 3/4 of an E minor 7th chord without the third. 7th, no third family. Okay. Now, why is this interesting? Well, for me, it's kind of exciting that triads, 3 notes, the building blocks of so many melodies, it can be boiled down into these small 5 tangible families. So this gives me a good system to organize my practice, for example, when I'm trying to discover new ways of approaching the major scale, or any 7-note scale for that matter. Maybe I could get into one of those families and see what it's like off of each note. For example, the quartal family. A 1-quartal, a 2-quartal, 3-quartal, 4-quartal. Interesting. What's a 1-quartal chord inverted? Oh, interesting. You're telling me that's in the C major? Yes. Cool. I love these systems of organization because I love looking at music as a long game, something that we can explore throughout our life. Getting acquainted with one family could be a whole lifelong journey. But having this theoretical knowledge to lean up against to kind of organize that lifelong journey is an exciting prospect when I'm planning out what I'm going to do in those free 15 minutes of the day when I'm not changing a diaper. It's good to have these little fence posts to hang on to, this theoretical information. Okay, thanks so much as always for being a patron. I hope you enjoyed this, and future quick tips will certainly address some ideas on how to get into exploring one of these shapes that maybe aren't so intuitive. Thanks so much. See you in 2 weeks.